Hello wine people, welcome to another video where I'm gonna explain the winemaking process. I made a separate video on the winemaking options that the winemaker has during the winemaking process. And the winemaking process and the decisions during the winemaking process will ultimately result in the final style of wine. On the end of the video, I will answer 10 WSET Level 2 type of questions that you can expect on this exam. On this channel, we want to simplify the world of wine. So if this is something that is interesting for you, please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of our future videos. And of course, this will help us to grow our YouTube channel. So if you just want to learn a little bit about wine, you need a little bit help with your WSET exam, or you want to change the world of wine with us, this channel is for you. So let's go. So what I will be talking about in this video is common winemaking techniques. I'll explain the terms and what they mean. I'll explain the process of making white, red, and rosé wines, and I'll explain the options that are available in order to make sweet wines. Please pay attention during the video, because on the end there's going to be 10 WSET Level 2 multiple choice questions, and please let me know in the comment below how many you got right. So what is winemaking? Winemaking is a process where you turn grapes into wine through the process of fermentation. We know that fermentation converts sugar into alcohol, but the alcohol is not the most important part of wine. The more important thing is that the decisions that the winemaker chooses during the winemaking process will create the ultimate final style of wine that will, in ideal way, showcase the qualities of the grapes and the location where these grapes are coming from. The first term that you need to know and understand is crushing. Crushing is the process of crushing the grapes in order to release the juice that is inside the grapes. There's few ways that you can crush the grapes. Back in the days, this was done in a manual way with feet. Today, there's modern winemaking technology that allows a more sophisticated way of crushing grapes. Here on this picture that is here, you can actually see that there's options to separate the stalks from the grapes before they're getting crushed. But these options you need to understand when you come to WSET Level 3. Okay. The next process is pressing. Pressing is a very important process, actually, that makes a whole difference between making white, red, and rosé wines. Pressing is when you press the grapes in order to separate the juice from the skin. That's very important. Here in this picture you can see two types of press. This one here is a more old-fashioned vertical press that is more labor intensive, and here you can see a hydraulic press, which is a modern version. The next step is fermentation. Fermentation is a process where grape sugar that is located inside the grape juice gets converted through a yeast into alcohol, but also through the process of fermentation, carbon dioxide is released, which is CO2, which is very important for sparkling wines, which we are going to make a separate video on sparkling wines, and also heat is released during the fermentation. Storage and maturation vessels. There's two main type of vessels for storage and maturation. There's others as well, but two main ones is stainless steel and oak vessels. Stainless steel is inert type of vessel. Inert means that it doesn't add any additional flavor to the wine. It is airtight and it's usually used for for storage before wine is bottled. The process of maturation is more connected to aging wine for a longer period of time in oak barrels. Oak barrels are not inert. They add secondary flavors of oak to the wine, and they're watertight, but they're not airtight. They also allow controlled contact with oxygen, which creates additional complex aromas in the wine, which are called tertiary aromas in wine. The secondary aroma, we understand that secondary aroma is from oak, and the tertiary aromas is the aromas that more that are connected with this dried fruit character that wines have. And for this kind of aromas, it takes time for the wine to develop. When the wine is ready for packaging, the two main options for packaging, there's more, but the two main one is glass bottles, which protect the wine in a more secure way from oxygen. It allows wines to age in a bottle for a longer period of time. And then the second one is a bag-in-box, which is more used for wines that are consumed in a shorter period of time, of up to a year, for example. Now I will explain the process of making red, rosé, and white wines. I'll use the same picture for the process, but I'll explain the differences between the three processes. So in order to make a dry red wine, you need to use black grapes. You cannot make red wine with white grapes, but you can make white wines with black grapes. And I'll explain why. You have your grapes, you harvest them, then you have the option to steam or to steam and to crush. Just to give you an example, the steaming, removing the stems from the fermentation, is more used for grapes that are high in tannin, like for example Cabernet Sauvignon. It has a very thick skin, so it doesn't actually benefit from any additional tannin that stems can provide. But for example, a lighter tannin grape variety like Pinot Noir can actually benefit maybe from additional tannin that can come from the stems. Fermentation. The main thing about making red wine is to extract color and tannin. Fermentation temperatures for red wines is higher than for white and rosé. They're between 20 and 30 degrees, and this high fermentation temperatures help with the extraction of color and tannin from the skins. When you finish your fermentation, you go to the pressing. Actually, before you press the wines, there's you can actually just unscrew the valve and just let the free run juice come outside without pressing this juice. This is called free run wine. It's usually the highest quality wine, and then the rest of the grapes and must you can actually press, and this pressing will release additional wine, and then you can use this pressed wine for to make different styles of wine, because this pressed wine will have higher tannin and higher and deeper color. After pressing, you have options for you to store and mature your wine. You can use stainless steel, you can use oak, and then you're bottling your wine. And then sometimes there's requirements for wine to stay in the bottle before they're released, and then wine is ready for sale. Making dry rosé wine process. There's two main ways how to make rosé wine that you need to understand for WSET Level 2. It is blending blending of white and red wines, which is actually not allowed in Europe. And the second way is short maceration. So I'll explain the maceration process here. So you have your grapes, you harvest them. Actually, in order to make rosé wine in a short maceration way, the process starts as you're making red wine. So you crush your grapes, and then the fermentation. Fermentation is the decision that you make during the fermentation process is very important. So the fermentation temperatures for rosé wines are lower than red wines. They're usually between 12 and 20 degrees, which is also the temperature that you use to make white wines. Lower temperatures help with the extraction and creation of lighter, fruitier, floral aromas that are very beneficial for white and rosé wines. And the second thing that is important for rosé wine making is the maceration period, so contact of juice and skin, that creates different color in wine. So if the maceration process is longer, you're gonna get a deeper colored wines. If the maceration process is shorter, you're gonna get a paler color wine. After that maceration process is finished, you actually press the grapes, and the fermentation process continues just with the juice, without the skins. Okay. After the fermentation is finished, you actually don't need to press anything because you already did the pressing. And then the maturation, usually for rosé wines don't mature in oak. There's of course there's wines that rosé wines that age in oak, but in most cases rosé wines are lighter, fresher. They're stored for a short period of time in stainless steel. They're bottled and they're ready for sale. Making dry red wine, the process you have your grapes, and then before the fermentation, you actually can crush the grapes, and you can leave the grapes and juice in contact with each other just for a very short period of time. This is an option, and this is usually used for aromatic grape varieties in order to for the flavor that is located also in the skins of the grapes to get more extract. But this is an option. Usually white grapes are pressed right away. You separate the juice from the skin, and just the juice goes to the fermentation vessels. Also, one thing that I want to mention for you to understand here, for white wines, you can actually ferment and age your wines in oak, because you just have to deal with the juice and not to deal with the skins, which is very practical if you don't have this skins for the fermentation. You ferment your white wine at lower temperature in order to extract and create this floral and fruity aromas. After the wine finishes the fermentation, it is ready for, you have an option to store it in stainless steel or to age it in oak barrels, and then the wine is ready for bottling and for sale. Making sweet wine options. Sweet wines are wines that have either residual sugar, it means that they have sugar that is not converted into alcohol, or additional sugar is added to the wine. There's different levels of sweetness. The wines can be off dry, meaning that they have just a little bit of sugar inside, or they can be lusciously sweet. In order to make sweet wines, there's few options like you see here. You can concentrate the sugar in your grapes, you can remove the yeast, you can kill the yeast, and you can add sweetness to a dry wine. So I'll explain just what everything means. Concentrating sugars, it means that the sugar in the grapes will be concentrated in a natural way. Either in the vineyard or after the grapes are picked. So a way to concentrate the grapes is to leave the grapes to ripen on the wine for a longer period of time, so they will accumulate more sugar inside the grape. You can actually pick the grapes and leave them to dry. Noble rot is also is a way for natural grape sugar to get more concentrated. And also the other way is ice wine for lower temperature to freeze the water inside the grapes. That is one way. So you're going to get really concentrated grapes, and these grapes will have so much sugar that will actually be toxic for the yeast. So yeast will not be able to eat all this sugar and convert it into wine. That is the idea behind concentrating the grapes. Removing the yeast. So during the fermentation process, you will make a decision to stop the fermentation and to remove the yeast in order for the wine not to continue this fermentation. There's special filters that sterilely filter the wine and stripped it of its yeast, so the wine stays sweet. Usually white Zinfandel wines from California are done in this way. Third way is killing the yeast, and the most popular wines that are done in this way is port. So in order to kill yeast, in port wine production they add additional pure spirit. This spirit increases the level of alcohol. This high alcohol, usually around 20% of alcohol, is toxic for the yeast, so it kills the yeast and stops the fermentation. So the remaining sugar stays in the wine. So these first three ways are, I would say, are ways to make a high quality sweet wines. The fourth one, adding sweetness to a dry wine, I would say that it is not a way to make sweet wine for the highest quality. Usually this is a more easier way to do it. It's more, I would say, precise, but it doesn't give the most balanced wine. So in order to do this, winemakers can actually mix dry and sweet wines. They can add unfermented grape juice, or they can add concentrated grape juice. It's like adding sugar to your coffee. So you're ready for the questions? You remember everything that we mentioned? Please, if you have any questions, leave the questions below in the comment section. Question number 1. Which process releases juice and has juice in contact with skin? So maturation. Pressing, draining, crushing, punching down. The correct answer is C, crushing. Also, I just remember now, during the red wine making process, one very important thing for you to also to remember is we said that high temperatures help extraction of color and tannin. The other thing also that you need to remember for red wine making is that the skins during the fermentation, they need to be managed, because you have, during the fermentation, you have this CO2 actually that is pushing the skins on the top. So the two main ways to have skins and juice in contact with each other in order to extract color and tannin is punching down. So you have this tools that you can that you actually push inside, that you push the skins inside the juice. And the second one is pumping over, where you actually have a hose connected to a valve on the tank, and you spray the juice on top of the skins. Okay, forgot that. Second question is, what is produced with fermentation? Alcohol, heat, CO2, all the above. The correct answer is D, all the above. What is the correct process to make dry red wine? And this is a common question that you get on WSET. So correct process to make dry red wine: crushing, fermentation, pressing, crushing, pressing, fermentation, fermentation, pressing, crushing, crushing, aging, fermentation. Correct answer is A, crushing, fermentation, pressing. What is the correct process to make dry white wine? Crushing, fermentation, pressing, crushing, pressing, fermentation, pressing, crushing, fermentation, pressing, aging, fermentation. The correct answer is B, crushing, pressing, fermentation. What will help to extract more tannin and color in red wines? Thinner grape skin, higher fermentation temperature, hand harvesting, oak aging. The correct answer is B, higher fermentation temperatures. And also, remember, managing, pumping over and punching down. Rosé wine fermentation temperatures are similar as for white wines. True or false? True. Level of alcohol in a final wine depends on the level of sugar in the grapes. True or false? True. Which flavors does wine have before aging? Which flavors does the wine have before aging? Secondary, primary, tertiary, complex. The correct answer is B, primary. Fermentation is carried out by bacteria, yeast, noble rot, skin. The correct answer is B, yeast. What techniques are used to make sweet wines? Concentrating grape sugars, removing the yeast, killing the yeast, all the above. The correct answer is D, all the above. Congratulations. Let me know how well you did. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was informative, fun, and easy to understand. And please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Comment below if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.